They say architects are obsessed with control, but I know the truth. We're obsessed with secrets. Every building is a confession, every wall a lie. I've spent my life weaving those lies into concrete and steel, hiding my intentions behind blueprints and jargon. People think they understand the spaces they inhabit, but they only see what I want them to see. The rest is shadow, silence, and hunger. I learned early that buildings have appetites, not for food, but for presence, for the warmth of bodies, the echo of footsteps, the scent of fear. My childhood home was a drafty old Victorian, full of rooms that didn't make sense, doors that led nowhere, staircases that ended in blank walls. At night, I'd lie awake and listen to the house breathe. My parents thought I was afraid of the dark, but I was only afraid of what the house might reveal if I stopped paying attention. By the time I was 12, I could draw the floor plan of any building I entered after a single walkthrough. I saw the places where the blueprints lied, where the walls didn't quite line up, where a door should have been but wasn't. I started sketching my own plans, mazes of rooms that folded in on themselves, staircases that led to nowhere, closets that opened into darkness. My teachers called it avant-garde. They didn't see the hunger in my lines. I went to college, learned the language of steel and concrete, learned how to hide my intentions behind jargon and technical drawings. My classmates wanted to build monuments, museums, towers of glass and light. I wanted to build something that would last, something that would be remembered not for its beauty, but for the way it made people disappear. My first commission was a cheap apartment block on the edge of a dying city. The developer wanted efficiency, but I gave him something else. I gave him a building that breathed. I added crawl spaces that twisted away from the main ducts, closets that were just a little too deep, a basement that was always colder than it should have been. I left a door in the sub-basement that didn't appear on any plan, a door that led to a room with no windows, no lights, no way out. The tenants moved in, and the building began to feed. It started with small things, keys that vanished, footsteps echoing in empty halls, the feeling of being watched. Then came the disappearances. A woman in 2B, her apartment left untouched, her cat mewling at the door. A janitor who left his cart in the hallway and was never seen again. A child who wandered off during a game of hide and seek and was never found. The police came, asked questions, but the building kept its secrets. I watched from a distance, keeping notes, feeling the thrill of creation. I moved from project to project, each one more ambitious than the last. Office parks, hotels, even a school. I learned to hide my signature, to blend in, to be just another name on the plans. I wore suits, shook hands, smiled at the right jokes. No one ever looked at me twice, but I watched them. I watched the tenants as they moved in, full of hope and plans, measuring curtains and arguing over paint colors. I watched them as the weeks passed, as the little things began to gnaw at them. The flickering lights, the cold spots, the way footsteps echoed in empty halls. Some of them grew anxious, started locking their doors, leaving the lights on at night. Others just faded like old wallpaper, until one day they were gone. I kept a notebook, of course, not for the police, not for anyone else, just for me. I wrote down dates, times, names. I drew little maps marking the places where the building had taken someone. Sometimes I'd walk those halls late at night, running my hand along the walls, feeling the pulse of the structure beneath my fingers. It was alive in its own way. It remembered. There was one building I was especially proud of, a mid-rise on the edge of the city, nothing special from the outside. But inside it was a masterpiece. The hallways twisted just so, the stairwells doubled back on themselves. The basement was a maze of locked doors and dead ends. I'd spent months perfecting it, making sure every detail was just right. I'd watch the security footage from my office, so sipping coffee as the tenants wandered, sometimes pausing in confusion at a hallway that didn't seem to lead where it should. I'd see them hesitate at a door that wasn't there yesterday, or stand in front of an elevator that never arrived. Sometimes, late at night, I'd see a figure slip into a service corridor and never come out. The next day, their apartment would be empty, their belongings untouched. The building was always hungry, and I was always watching. Sometimes I'd return to my buildings after dark, when the city was quiet and the only sounds were the hum of the lights and the distant groan of pipes. I'd walk the halls, feeling the air grow colder, the shadows deepen. I'd pause outside the doors that led nowhere, listening for the faintest sound, a breath, a whisper, a fingernail scratching at the other side. I never heard anything. The building kept its secrets well, but the hunger never left me. I wanted more. I wanted to create a space so perfect, so complete, that it would erase anyone who entered it, including perhaps myself. My final project was a luxury apartment complex built for people who wanted privacy, exclusivity, a sense of security. I poured everything I had into the design: hidden corridors, false doors, a ventilation system that twisted through the walls like veins. The centerpiece was a room with no windows, no exits, accessible only through a hidden mechanism I'd built into the foundation. It was my masterpiece, the culmination of years of work. I watched the residents move in, watched them settle into their routines. I watched as the building began to work on them, as they started to notice the little things, the way footsteps echoed in the halls, the way doors sometimes stuck for no reason. I watched as the first tenant disappeared, then another. Each time I felt a thrill of satisfaction. The building was alive and it was hungry. I should have left it at that. I should have been content to watch from a distance, to let the building do its work. But I couldn't resist the urge to see my masterpiece up close. I wanted to feel the space, to stand in the center of the room I'd hidden so well. One night, I let myself in through the service entrance. The halls were empty, the lights dimmed for the night. I moved quietly, my footsteps muffled by the thick carpet. I found the hidden panel in the basement, pressed the sequence of tiles I'd memorized, and watched as the wall slid open. The room beyond was pitch black, silent as a tomb. I stepped inside, savoring the perfection of it. The door closed behind me with a soft click. I ran my hand along the smooth concrete, feeling the coolness seep into my skin. I reached for the release switch, the one I'd hidden so carefully. My fingers searched for the seam but found nothing. I tried again more urgently, but the wall was smooth, unbroken. A cold realization settled over me. The mechanism had failed, or maybe I'd made a mistake in the sequence. It didn't matter. The room was sealed, just as I'd designed it. I stood in the darkness, listening to the silence. There was no panic, no fear, just a sense of inevitability. I had become part of my own creation, another secret folded into the bones of the building. No one would find me. No one would even look. The blueprints would gather dust, the tenants would move on, and the city would forget. But the building would remember. It always did. And in the end, that was enough.